Before Whittingham, I was the big part. Before Whittingham, I lived in, I was born in Egypt, in Alexandria, an extraordinary city, cosmopolitan, many languages, all the Mediterranean population was there. There were Greeks, Cypriots from Corfu, from Rhodes, from Italy, some Spanish, and but everybody spoke French. The schools were mostly French, although there were ethnical schools like a Greek school and an Italian school, but many other schools were French, and especially the what they call les frères, the monks or religious Catholic orders. The Jesuits had a school, and they were all in French. So the lingua franca of the Europeans and more advanced Egyptians, Muslim Egyptians, were speaking French.
And you went to a French school?
And I went, yeah, actually, funnily, the first school, because it was closer to my house where we lived, was an English school for prep school, the age of 5. And the school was called St. Andrew's Scottish School. I still remember learning what a plane was, a drawing of a plane. But the next year I went to a French school, a Jewish, which was an extraordinary school also because it was what the French called laïque, not non-religious school, but it called Lycée de l'Union of the Union, de l'Union Juive. And we didn't learn anything about religion. The first language was French, but then the second, third, and fourth language were English, Hebrew, and Arabic, but nothing to do with holidays and religion.
Tell me about the decision to leave Egypt and go to Whittingham.
Well, after '56, it was clear that we had to leave the country. All the people of English and French nationality, whether Jewish or not, were kicked out of Egypt. That means that most schools didn't have teachers anymore. By the way, in the English school, the teachers were Northern Republican Irish. A nasty fellow, as far as I remember him. Anyway, we left Egypt. We had to leave because we were not kicked out, but it was clear that we were not wanted.
Where did you go?
Well, my father, at the last minute, he had planned to go to Australia, but at the last minute, he got a job in Italy. And my mother was Italian, and I was Italian because of my mother, but my father was stateless, with traveling papers valid for 6 months with no return and not renewable, of course. So we went to Milan. My father also had already a sister there with my cousins, 3 cousins, and then we went to. Well, there was a French school, but not an English school, and I had already lost a year in the transition from one school to the other. And somehow, I think, as far as I understand, because my father didn't have the means, I got a scholarship from a refugee institution fund called HIAS, because that I remember the name, HIAS. And I was sent to a boarding school in Surrey called Stotley Rough School, which was founded in the 30s by 2 Fräulein doctor, Jewish, both of them, and to receive Jewish kids from Europe. That was a very interesting place. My love of nature started there because the main buildings were on top of a hill, and the dormitories were down at the bottom of the valley, and you had to run through the woods to get there. And then started reading Keats and Wordsworth. And
how did you come to move to Whittingham?
the school closed down. It was the end of the school, and the school closed down. And I remember taking a bus summer term. Taking a bus on the last summer term, 1960, from Hindhead, over the Hindhead or Hazelmere, because the school was in between. Maybe it was on the main way, main road to the sea or something. Anyway, I took a bus, and it was a bus ride and not a train, to Brighton. I was interviewed by Mr. Smith, if you heard of him. Actually, it was an interview like you would have by the Secret Service. He sat like I sit now, with his back to the window of the living room of Woodlands, so that I could not see his face, and I sat opposite. I must have made a good impression, because he accepted me, and still I'm not sure if my parents got special fees or still the scholarship was running.
And what do you remember of your relations with other boys at the school? I mean, it was quite an international school in those days.
Yes. I'm not a very social person, so I had very few friends. My friends were mostly English boys. The Israelis were very, very loud, and showing around their money. I was a poor kid. So really, there were English boys. My friends were mostly all English.
Do you remember any Muslim boys from the Middle East?
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember. Don't remember all the names. I remember the Persians. The Persians were quite a crowd and aristocratic. Sons of ministers or ambassadors. I remember the Saudis. You know, the story goes that after I left, one day they realized that the embassy realized that it was a Jewish school, and they took them out completely. We had a head boy who was Iraqi Muslim, Jamil. Jamil said on his on speech day, you know, the head boy makes a speech on speech day, that the UN could learn from the school.
Because of the Muslim-Jewish mixing?
Yes. And yes, this is, well, I don't think there was, in between the Jewish crowd and the Israelis, and of course, like Ernest, we were Sephardic Jews, but most of the Jews were at the school were Ashkenazi, but we never had any conflict or we didn't suffer from any discrimination. I never thought there was discrimination until I got to Israel.
And So did you go to
Not that I had, I was discriminated at in Israel, because everybody, until they hear of my name, they think I'm Ashkenazi. But I never suffered from it, or that I was aware that somebody was behaving or was not friendly because of that.
And what did you do on leaving the school?
So I left the school. I made the mistake not to try to apply to an English university. And I thought going to an Italian university would give me another dimension of cultural background. At school, I really did English Lit, French, and Italian, so that I was not in science or mathematics, and I decided to make my father happy to go to read economics. There's a famous university in Milan. We specialize only in economics and statistics and a little languages. It's called the Bocconi University, Università Bocconi. After 2 years, I gave up. And as I was looking for a piece of paper that said that a certificate that had studied something to make my father happy, I went to the University of Geneva at the School of Interpreters, which was very easy for me. I didn't have to study.
Did any of the relationships you made at school shape your career later?
Look, as I said, I have no brothers and sisters. Some were very, very close and stayed very close, although sometimes for years we didn't see each other. But some, until today, you know, we catch up very quickly, and really a fraternal love between us that definite and beautiful. Everyone went his way, and I decided to go to Israel because I volunteered in '67. During the war, I volunteered to go, and I was put on a farm as a volunteer for 3 months. And I decided I finish my studies and I go back. As a matter, I decided to immigrate to Israel. I immigrated with, I had married, during the war, the '67 war, when I volunteered, we were supposed to get married in July. But beginning of June, I went to Israel. We married at the end of the year in December '67. She came to Geneva, and when we immigrated on with a little daughter. She was Ilana. She was 10 months old. Now, some extraordinary things really sometimes happen to me. For example, I left Egypt on the 20th of September, taking a boat to Europe, '58. 20th of September, '70, the Jewish agency, you know, they put me on a boat to cross the Mediterranean and back to the southeast. So came to Israel.
Did you ever go back to Egypt?
Once in '83. I took the kids. My wife also was born in Egypt. And we took the kids. We went to Cairo. the pyramids, Alexandria, Aswan, Luxor, and Hurghada. Al-Gharda'a, in Arabic, it's a resort on the Red Sea. Then back to Cairo.
What about 1973? Were you? Did,
Yeah. Before that, I went back to Egypt. In '73, I participated to the Yom Kippur War. I was in artillery, simple soldier. They call them greaser because you always grease things. A simple soldier, and my unit crossed the canal and went south down up to the town of the suburbs of the town of Suez, and I was there for 6 months.
what was it like to be back?
No, well, after one month I had my first leave, and then we had a bus running for the unit, which went out every Sunday and Thursday. That means you could have a leave which included the weekend, or a leave to do some errands and paperwork in the middle of the week. So practically every 3 weeks we were allowed to go home for 3 days.
And tell us about your biography here.
Well, it's 30 years of the winery, and we decided to make the effort, because it was an effort. It is written by Adam Sebag Montefiore, the brother of Simon, and who is in the wine business, was in the wine business in England, immigrated to Israel in the 80s, and has been in the wine scene in Israel. So it was easy to speak to him, and he would understand what I'm meaning. And yeah, it's. I'm very happy with it. You can have it.
Thank you. So you started in the wine business in Israel?
Yes, in '88, I planted a small vine on the plot of my house. In '92, I made 2 barrels. When I ordered the barrels, the lady at the cooperage in France said, "But the shipment of 2 barrels will cost you practically as much as the 2 barrels." I said, "Madam, what do you want? I only need 2." And that's 600 bottles. The vintage is '92. It was it came out bottled in '95, a great success. Locally, that means locally, people around me who tasted it. And an Israeli journalist said, you have something very special. And I know somebody who knows somebody that maybe you want him to taste. Somebody was an Anglo-Israeli lady journalist, and she was friendly with an important figure of the wine scene in England, Serena Sutcliffe. She was then the head of the wine department at Sotheby's. Her husband, also master of wine, David Peppercorn. And she brought them a bottle. And after a month, a fax came back. We're talking of summer '95, saying, the fax is in the book, saying it's classic, practically, that it's the best Israeli wine I ever tasted, unlike all the others that are herbaceous. And maybe most important is that she writes that the terroir must be right. The height, 700 meters, and the soil.
You've had an amazing career with wine. I mean, when you look back at your time at Whittingham, do you think it shaped your career or your life in particular ways?
I think what we learned at Whittingham is to dare, chutzpah, in the sense, you know, your thoughts have no limits. Now, which are you going to really do? What we'll do with them? But you can always have a lot of ideas. So if it's not this, it's that, and you know, Whittingham was a very special school. You know, the lit classes, we were 4 or 5 sitting around the table, and there was a friendship. An English French type of friendship, yeah, with the masters. And
I mean, what do you think? 60, 70 years later, people are still coming from all over the world to Brighton to gather for this reunion. It's very unusual, very special. Why do you think it is?
Because the diversity of the backgrounds. We had something going on in common. I heard Louis talking about Festival Day, you know, the yearly festival where we were filming. I remember making films for that, and the sport. I used to be quite a good runner, and I was cross-country champion and fencing champion. And in athletics also was very good. So,
if you had to sum up in a couple of sentences what Whittingham meant for you?
Happy days. Happy days close to this town, a town. We were out very often at night. Local girls loved us, really, and a lot of fun, really, to the point where I was invited to meet parents of the girls, and Christmas I had to hire a dinner jacket to go for a Christmas dinner with our family. Yeah, actually lately I've been thinking if I would have to go and live any place in the earth, where would I go? And I think I will come back to England. I miss the pubs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great.